Coming live from the studio, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for watching another episode of All Sports. This is your host Gerardo, and all I talk is sports. On the show today, I am going to talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, and NBA basketball. Before I start the show, I hope you all had a great week. To start off with Major League Baseball, the White Sox hired Tony La Russa to be their next manager. The Tigers hired A.J. Hinch to be their next manager. So now that it's the Major League Baseball offseason, now that the 2020 season has come to an end, since it's now November, this is the beginning of the offseason for Major League Baseball. And going into this winter, going into the next few weeks, the next few months, going into 2021 before spring training begins, a lot could happen, especially starting this month. First of all, we're going to see who the finalists are and who wins the awards, which includes different individual players and even some managers. So we're going to have to wait and see who wins the Major League Baseball awards. But it includes many different types of awards and many individual players and even some managers could win some of these awards. We'll just have to wait and see who wins what award. Also, in the next few weeks is the start of free agency. And so far, there is a list of the current individual players that will likely be free agents this offseason. Next week, I will provide that list and get into who is expected to be a free agent as of right now. But after we see who the finalists are and what individual players win what awards, free agency is just around the corner, and that is getting ready to begin. And that's also going to be interesting as well to see what individual players sign with what teams. Are there going to be teams that re-sign the free agent that's currently on the market? Or is the free agent going to test the market and see what new team he can sign with? We're just going to have to wait and see. But this free agency is definitely going to be interesting, and there's definitely going to be a lot of big names and a lot of great names that are on this free agency market list. And we'll just have to wait and see what teams are going to be aggressive, what teams are going to re-sign free agents, or what teams are going to pursue the new free agents. So now that we are in November and going into this winter, it's an important time period for Major League Baseball. Moving on now to NFL football, Mike Tomlin passed Tony Dungy for the most wins by an African American head coach in NFL history. Tom Brady is the fourth player with at least 50 career touchdown passes on Monday Night Football. Russell Wilson tied Tom Brady for the most wins by a quarterback in his first 9 seasons. Russell Wilson tied Peyton Manning for the most regular season wins and Tom Brady for the most wins, including the postseason in NFL history, by a quarterback in his first 9 seasons. Russell Wilson joined Peyton Manning and Hall of Famer Dan Marino as the only quarterbacks in NFL history to throw 250 touchdown passes in their first 9 seasons. Russell Wilson's 26 passing touchdowns through 7 games is the second most passing touchdowns through the first 7 games of a season. Justin Herbert tied Deshaun Watson for the longest streak of games with at least 3 touchdown passes by a rookie. Alvin Kamara has 6 straight games with 100 plus scrimmage yards, which is the longest active streak in the NFL. Alvin Kamara joined Matt Forte and LaDainian Tomlinson as the only running backs in NFL history with at least 50 receptions in each of their first 4 seasons. Aaron Donald joined DeMarcus Ware, Derek Thomas, and Reggie White as the 4 players with 8 plus sacks in each of their first 7 seasons. Left tackle Ronnie Stanley and the Ravens have agreed to a 5-year contract extension. So now that we're in November, the NFL trade deadline just passed. And now that the trade deadline has just passed, there wasn't that many trades that happened in the 2020 season compared to some of the previous seasons. And there were a few trades that happened, but there really weren't many big name players except for one player in particular and just a few players that got traded at the NFL trade deadline. And besides the one big name player that got traded at the trade deadline, there wasn't a whole lot of trades, and there really wasn't other big name players that got traded at the trade deadline. So to start off, here are some of the players that got traded up until the deadline of the NFL trade deadline. The Jets traded linebacker Avery Williamson and a 2022 7th-round draft pick to the Steelers in exchange for a 2022 5th-round draft pick. The 49ers traded linebacker Kayvon Alexander to the Saints in exchange for a conditional 5th-round draft pick. The Chargers traded Desmond King to the Titans. The Dolphins traded wide receiver Isaiah Ford to the Patriots. So overall, there was just a few trades that happened up until the trade deadline. And besides the one big name player that got traded, there wasn't a whole lot of other trades, and there really wasn't any other big name players that got traded before the trade deadline. But that was all the trades that happened in the NFL up until the NFL trade deadline that just passed in the last few days. George Kittle will miss 8 weeks with a broken bone in his foot. On Friday, October 30th, Hall of Famer Herb Erderly passed away. He was 81 years old. The Broncos announced John Elway and Joe Ellis have tested positive for COVID-19. Bradley Chubb has recorded a sack in 3 consecutive games, which is the second longest streak of his career. The Broncos beat the Chargers 31-30 in Denver on Sunday, November 1st. The Broncos go against the Falcons in Atlanta on Sunday, November 8th. This is the 9th week of NFL football. So right now I'm going to update you the Week 8 NFL football final scores. I'm also going to tell you the Week 9 NFL football schedule and the games to keep an eye on this week in NFL football. So to start off, here are the Week 8 final scores and highlights from this week of NFL football. The Falcons beat the Panthers 25-17 on Thursday Night Football. The Steelers beat the Ravens 28-24. The Dolphins beat the Rams 28-17. The Vikings beat the Packers 28-22. The Colts beat the Lions 41-21. The Raiders beat the Browns 16-6. The Bengals beat the Titans 31-20. The Bills beat the Patriots 24-21. The Broncos beat the Chargers 31-30. The Seahawks beat the 49ers 37-27. The Saints beat the Bears 26-23 in overtime. The Eagles beat the Cowboys 23-9 on Sunday Night Football. The Buccaneers beat the Giants 25-23 on Monday Night Football. This week is the Cardinals, Jaguars, Texans, and Washington's bye week. Now taking a look at Week 9, here are the matchups to keep an eye on this week in NFL football. The Packers vs. the 49ers on Thursday Night Football, the Giants vs. Washington, the Bears vs. the Titans, the Lions vs. the Vikings, the Panthers vs. the Chiefs, the Ravens vs. the Colts, the Seahawks vs. the Bills, the Broncos vs. the Falcons, the Raiders vs. the Chargers, the Steelers vs. the Cowboys, the Dolphins vs. the Cardinals, the Saints vs. the Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football, the Patriots vs. the Jets on Monday Night Football. This week, it's the Eagles, Rams, Browns, and the Bengals bye week. So that's the Week 8 final scores and the Week 9 schedule for NFL football. Moving on now to NBA basketball, the Rockets hired Stephen Silas to be their next head coach. The Nets hired Amari Stoudemire and Mike D'Antoni as assistant head coaches for head coach Steve Nash. The 76ers hired Daryl Morey to be their next general manager. Moving on now to end the show, what to watch for this week in sports. The Broncos go against the Falcons in Atlanta on Sunday, November 8th. The Broncos, NFL football, college football. Moving on now, on the next show, I will talk about NFL football, Major League Baseball, and NBA basketball. I hope you all have a great week. Tune in to the next All Sports with Gerardo show next week. I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to All Sports. Subscribe or like my pages on social media at All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.